So you're back here to vote this time, not to be voted.
Well, I don't think I qualify because the criteria is such that you know it's not for anybody. It's for a selected group of people who must be either ex-minister or somebody who's in the CEO level, handling a company with more than a capital,
a huge bunch of money,
over $100 million
yes.
paid-up capital. So it's not just for anybody. So it's for.
That's where it is wrong in the first place.
Yeah, I think whether it's right or wrong, but I think again you are equating this to people who are in the higher, the elite kind of
they
level.
Are selecting from the tip of the ivory tower.
Yeah. So
and it doesn't represent the people in the foundation. The people in the lower portion of.
I don't know, but in other countries, whether presidents or leaders of state come from such elite class, or they are from the common. I think many countries, some of them are just from the very humble backgrounds, and they have. I think one in Brazil and a few, Iran and all. They are just from the working class.
You have to see from a few perspectives why it is wrong. Firstly, it's speaking from the tip of the ivory tower, and then not for a position that is having a lot of decision making, policy making, or active critical role for the country. It's just a ceremonial
role. Okay.
And then you pick from the tip of the ivory to perform a ceremonial role. What is the meaning?
Okay.
What is the significance? What is the logic?
Okay. Now this leads me to think of an analogy lah. Okay, I'm just thinking that it's perhaps like a scenario of a farmer. Imagine this case of a farmer in this big farm, and then a lot of people, farmers are in this village, and the village head say, hey, every harvest that the crops during the harvest crops will be kept in the warehouse. Okay, and then farmers say, how? What if people come to make use of or to cheat or to rob the crops? Then the village head said, no, in this case we will have somebody to oversee, the scrutinize, okay, under the scrutiny of another higher body. You know what is this? They decided, the village head suggests scarecrow, 稻草人. And they say, okay, what should we do with this scarecrow? Okay, scarecrow should have the eyes bigger. Some may say maybe you should carry a knife or something, so that the birds, the prey coming for the crops will be chased away, and the robbers will be frightened, so that from other places they want to come to rob the farmland, they'll be discouraged. So when you take a president, presuming that you think you want to put somebody, an institution or a person, and a person office, in that office to so-called monitor or as an ombudsman, to oversee the cabinet, as in this case. Then, as in the farmland, are you going to put a scarecrow? And is it befitting? A scarecrow can do so much. It's no point you say the scarecrow carry this word.
Now you are getting a scarecrow and specify that the scarecrow have to be complying to the birds. You are getting a president to guard against the cabinet abusing our national reserve.
No, are you sure they are the birds or the prey? Preying on the crop.
Because you see, they are talking about a president to sit there as a second key that hold the consent power. Whether when the cabinet needs to utilize the reserve, they have to have this president approve it.
But
then they are thinking that you have to look for somebody that the prime minister like and the prime minister find comfortable with.
Oh yeah.
That means you're telling me you use a scarecrow that makes the birds feel comfortable to come and plunder your paddy. What is the meaning? What is the joke?
No, even in minus a scarecrow, like even our real context that we have a few presidents before. It's not that we haven't got one. We have a few past presidents. I think that the last one more memorable was Ong Teng Cheong. Now, if you think Ong Teng Cheong obviously didn't hold the key. If he had, he would have not asked the question, how much do we have? Can we open up and bring out some to help the people in
No,
need?
he didn't say until that. He just said that.
How much do we have?
Yeah, he had no idea where is the sum of money, and then they told him need a 52
many years to
give him a summary.
Yes, and that sounds very absurd, especially coming from the ex-minister for finance.
He was deputy prime minister.
Yeah,
he was.
Yeah. I think it was very much also a very
same as Tony Tan, another deputy prime minister to become a presidential candidate at least.
Okay, so I don't know this particular. How do you see these presidential elections? Now that they're trying to promise that it's going to be very different, I think the past few they have it's more like nominated and the one and no.
The very different is now they have 4 contestants instead of the candidate preferred by family regime walk over on nomination day. It doesn't walk over today.
This is very shocking there because I was in China just 2 weeks ago, and then I read the internet very often, the Market Review, read online Citizen, I read Sammy Boy and all that, and then I come to form the impression that this is very unusual case. That you have 3 from the PAP, ex-PAP, now that they have to resign their roles, and their commitment, and they were all from the party, the incumbent PAP party. Especially Tony Tan, it's just only a week ago maybe, was still holding the SPH chairmanship, right? Now I don't know how, except for one, Tan Ji Se, who's from the opposition in the last election. So if you factor in their upbringing, their backgrounds, one would conclude that, of course, I don't know any of them, and I would not be biased in putting any favors or trying to make anybody look good. Right? Not that I have the influence, but just say, okay, we are as a lay person making a comment. Okay. Now I think, given their backgrounds, they are all qualified people, no doubt, very qualified, because they all have in high positions. They have managed companies that have an asset over 100 million paid-up capital and all.
I deny that standard by which they qualify or disqualify.
No, I mean, whether one is qualified, we all go by academic and proven career track record. So they have all fulfilled the criteria. Now, what is important is the voters going to choose somebody for a CEO in the GIC. Then possibly they can all fit in and choose one. But today we are talking about a president. Now I give you the case of a scarecrow. Now if we're going to choose someone for a scarecrow president, then it's a waste of talent, because that anybody can do, and you can save $4 million per year for taxpayers' money, right? That money can be given as charity and give it to subsidize the hospitals, or even to give as welfare.
The significance of that is very negligible. This is not the Tan Clan Association President's election, but it's almost the same.
I think it's a coincidence. Come on, there are many Tans, there are many Lims, and there are many Ongs.
No, it's not in Singapore. I said in the last video recording, if this was a Korean president election and all candidates were Kims, nothing unusual. If it's Vietnamese presidential election and all the candidates were nuanced, there's nothing unusual. But this is Singaporean presidential election. In the first place, when you have 4 Chinese, nobody but Chinese, even you take the 6 in, the 2 that got this not recognized as qualified, 6 in, all Chinese, is already not representing.
Now they bring up the point. You bring up the point that it's sort of also unusual. They're given a multi-racial country that, of course, Chinese being the majority. Of course. But I thought we were given like a rotation kind of basis. That sometimes Indian, Chinese, then come Malay and all that.
That's got
so possibly, But anyhow, I think the more important issue with this elected president is that is he empowered? Is he vested with more powers, executive powers is it a power center that can act as an ombudsman, as a base that to oversee, to ensure, to scrutinize the cabinet, that in the event of any wrongdoing, he can be the guide and the guidance and say, hey, you know.
It's the president, the elected president, not the previous president, kind of president like Benjamin Shears. He was just a nominated president.
Okay.
Now he's an elected president, but the elected president, does he have sufficiently meaningful role, sufficiently empowered and have opportunity to make a difference, to serve the people and positively make Singapore a more effective and meaningful country from the highest position in our constitution, highest office.
Yeah, now that you bring up this point, that I think unlike the past presidents that were, as you mentioned, they were not elected. Okay, until Ong Teng Cheong was 1-1, and then he won. Okay, and he did make some contribution by trying to look into an area which most citizens are interested to know is what's in our foreign reserves that we have, and is it enough for our retirement? Is it enough for our well-being, you know, welfare? Now, because of the very fact that Ong Teng Cheong brought up the issue, he was then been
not nominated, not preferred, not supposed, not interested.
He was given a very awkward answer by the then finance minister, by saying that it would take 52 man years for Ong Teng Cheong to know the answer, and I think it shocked the whole nation because I thought we have the number one man, the president as the number one man would be able to tell us what we have, where we are going, you know.
In the very first place, the irony comes from the fact that Ong Teng Cheong wasn't just an elected president, but he was from the executive cabinet for a long time. He was minister, he was deputy prime minister, and he doesn't know.
He didn't.
Even when he haven't found out the truth, but when he was in the office of Republic of Singapore president, he should have some idea when he was with the executive cabinet, but he doesn't. He have no chance to know. So deputy prime minister doesn't know. When he went to the office of presidency,
so
you cannot get even the answer also.
Would that also mean that now if you see it that way, then given the fact that Dr. Tony Tan was also or had always been with the PAP for the last few decades, you know, in different portfolios, different ministries, in high-power ministries, unlike Tan Cheng Bock, unlike Dr. Tan Cheng Bock, who was only an MP. So we are talking about Dr. Tony Tan, whose last position was the chairman of the Singapore Press Holdings, which is the only media giant that is controlling the
propaganda machinery.
So now, would he face the same problem? If he were to be elected, would he then get the same answer and say, hey, we don't know, it take another 50 years, man years to find the answer. So the same answer will go for the next president, and
he already agreed with family regime not to ask kind of questions like this.
Now, I think this
that's why he got nominated.
Now, in the bad times like this, I think all over the world, in the United States, transparency is the key word, without which the whole world will be in a real mess. If the US refuse to declare they are in the deficit, that they are in huge debts, and then everybody pretending that there's nothing happening, what would happen to the whole world?
Recently, the Chinese Supreme Court just ruled that the people can sue the communist government if they refuse to review.
Oh yeah, I read that in the China.
Yes.
In fact, in China, that I have been staying for the last few years, not by choice, but because I am deprived of a lifeline in Singapore, being in the opposition, I was never given a chance to do anything for the last 2 decades. In China, I realized that things have changed rapidly. Not only the fast-moving economy, more importantly is the citizenry have taken a very active part. Now, every person I meet in China, they are very vocal. They criticize the system, they make suggestions. Some will probe, some will say, oh, they'll try to explain why. But more importantly is the media. I know the Chinese media, for journalists, reporters, they openly discuss problems. Okay? They review. No, anyway, of course, I wouldn't say that it is openness that to the point that you go directly in conflict with the establishment. But the media,
in many cases, they did. They did investigative.
I think there are many protests.
Even they
investigative journalism is fantastic. You have people in the town councils, like even in Beijing or anywhere, even the sensitive Beijing. Even the small little place, and then people complaining, oh, the building here, the developer did this, the road was blocked, and blah blah blah, and all the problems, flooding and all that. Now to bring this up, there's never editing done. Okay, the person in charge in the township would then have to answer to the press.
The Chinese reporter risked their life, and some of them died. Many injured. In discovering truth and reporting the truth for the people. But this is very unlike Singapore.
Singapore I don't know, maybe they're too
in
China,
I know very commonly that reporters have been injured, abducted, beaten up.
If you go in some parts in provinces in Chinese, I read some of the magazines and newspapers, some reporters risk their lives. Because why? If they confront some of this mafia-like type of village, where they run quarries, they run syndicates, they in collusion with these officers, and even only this year alone, I think some 80,000 government officials were charged for corruption, and some even sentenced to death. One was Hangzhou and which one?
Recently, yes.
And some for I think the one was Guizhou. There were many such incidents of punishment, very severe punishment in the past. And huge numbers. And also on the other hand, we're talking about protests. Now you can read in Singapore, you may read about outside China, but in China, I think there may be over 10,000 protests a year. And it's not about 5 people, it's not about SDP kind of small, you have a quite violent group. I think only, was it last 2 weeks was in Guizhou, they even burned the police cars. Not that we're trying to say this is the thing that we're looking forward to, but I think it's because the sentiment, the ground, the resentment, if things go wrong, the citizens take an active part, a role in giving the feedback.
Willing to pay the price to see a correction and change.
So, but here, okay, so with the blessings that we think we have a better system. Now, but I don't know whether in actual fact, an island of 5 million people in China is a very, very minute group of 5 million. Now,
negligible.
Okay, so on the island of 5 million, I'm very shocked that each time I read the media, the internet about Singapore news, almost like daily on I come to know that there was a particular month where there's so many decomposed bodies, in just 2 weeks, 7 or 9 bodies.
9 already.
Yeah.
The latest was.
You're talking about murder. You're talking about decomposed, some found in the forest or what?
Forested area.
Yeah. And this is very frightening because we have been brought up to believe that Singapore is a very safe.
Not anymore. The police
security
admitting that they post out a lot of signs to warn people to be aware of crimes, warning of their own safety. In fact, you look at it that a decomposed body is found next to the fence at the back gate of Istana, the highest security area of a president's office, the prime minister's office. Then it tells something as bad as Mas Salamat escape from ISD. Because when a person, when he get either a heart attack, a stroke or something, murder, he tried to suicide, at the vicinity of the fence of the highest
there will be a lot of office cameras.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows for such a long time until the body decomposed and become a sting. Then they start to look and found a body. There you go.
I think the telling part is that I'm very worried, even for my family here. Even for friends who are here. Are we then living in a false belief, the myth that this is a very safe place with good administration. We paid the best people,
False
the highest pay to our administrators, our politicians. Therefore, we're getting first class, first world treatment.
That's only the past. This is a falsehood of perfection. It's a perversion of falsehood.
So are we going to let this go on? Now with the influx of the foreigners coming in at an alarming rate over the last 10 or so years, now are we able to contain this so-called problem that is almost out of control? Now we're looking at, have the police classified all these missing people, dead bodies, and come to a conclusion as to how they died, how they were killed? There must be answers. There cannot be a misadventure. There cannot be so many misadventures or unnatural deaths. But how? Why? Right? We want to know. Because our families are here, based here. I think every Singaporean here is for the long term. I don't know about the PAP. I think for the citizens who have no choice, the 80% who live in HDB flats, cannot say, okay, cash out and migrate. It's only for the higher end. The people who were earning 2 million a year to 4 million a year who say, hey, call it a day, and then migrate.
You're talking about those who qualify to be presidential candidates.
Oh no, maybe even no, ministers above Ministers are earning 2 million, you need to earn 4 million. With 2 million a year, you earn 5 years, you got 10 million. You can cash out if you want to, You can easily, the whole world is your paradise. You can just choose which paradise you intend to go to. You send your children. You want to go Australia, Canada, or the better places, or what? You choose. Now I'm talking about in the context of Singapore. How are we evolving? You say you want to make change. The PM in his latest National Day rally mentioned a few so-called good plans to resolve the things that people are resentful.
Totally rubbish.
Now you're talking about some subsidies. I think we have heard about these subsidies long ago. It's just like a departmental store said, okay, slash 20% discount, 50% discount, mark up the price slash, and then Christmas.
Totally insignificant in the overall picture.
In big numbers, it sounds like, wow, subsidy, heavy subsidy. In essence, if you go to see a clinic, they say $100, okay, subsidize $50. I don't know how that's going to change your life. I really don't think that can actually be a help. Now, talking about bringing back jobs to Singapore, you're also talking about bringing, keeping places for Singaporeans, right? For universities places. Why you have to do these remedial actions to reverse what you have not done previously? It's an admission that this were not done, were not catered to. This class
all these are just political issues more relevant to parliamentary election, not presidential election.
I'm talking about, So, now I'm talking, why is in this context it is important that if the cabinet under the PM would have to make remedial actions to change what has gone wrong or what have gone wrong. You
talk about reform. If you want to reform the Presidential Election Act, the elected president being a useless role, ceremonial role that hold the highest salary, highest office that does nothing except maybe National Day Parade and presidential charity. Totally meaningless. This is something that you need to reform. I told the people in my previous recording that if you think the elected president system is wrong, unacceptable, and they still insist that they must do like this, they are not reforming, then take this chance of vote as a referendum. Vote against the intended candidate by family regime. Tony Tan. Vote against Tony Tan if you disagree with this particular system of elected president. That the president has no useful role.
That leaves, if you leave out Tony Tan as the not desirable choice, then that you were talking about the other three, of which maybe the other two belongs also ex-PAP. And then that leaves again Tan Ji Se as the only opposition.
All of them were part of the family regime. Alright, but this is the nature of Singapore.
Of course, we have been one party all along, so you can't blame it because it has always been the culture. There's one party for the.
That they are falling apart, breaking down, disintegrating, and defecting. Then
but for the good of the well-being of the citizenry. Now, what it should be proposed is, what can we do from here?
You can use this election campaign to highlight the wrong, the unreasonable areas, and propose what's supposed to be right for an elected president, what Singaporean wants.
Voters can only choose one out of the four. They cannot make suggestions now, because
your vote will apply to pressure.
It will register as a kind of take the form of a protest, a resentment kind of.
Correct, because this particular time in the presidential election, the whole Singapore is like one SMC, and it's a four-corner fight.
Okay,
but here it is, you have nothing much to lose as a voter, because you're not able to change the government. You're not going to change national policy. You're not going to change economic policy. You're not going to make much difference, except your different face. And one of the different time will be inspecting the guard of honor at an NDP.
So it's very ceremonial. So actually, it's a pity that we see it as like my earlier statement that I liken it to a scarecrow in the farmland. How much can a scarecrow do?
Correct.
So are we going to remove that?
Don't take it as a presidential election to choose one of the to put into the istana so that he will rubber stamp what comes out from the cabinet. That is not the meaning of it. The meaning of it is that to look at it seriously. What are we choosing? Are we choosing really a president just to rubber stamp something for the family regime?
We should choose someone who is more vocal, who can, at his best, make the necessary changes, to effect the necessary changes, to act as an ombudsman, somebody who should not go under the PM, but rather
can keep a check against the PM.
Watch on the cabinet, and say if this is not right, to go against it, go against the cabinet, and say, hey, we shouldn't do this.
There will be something that is more effective to the interests of Singaporean people.
So then the citizens would then, in general, for the larger group, that power within the powers of the president would then become meaningful. Otherwise, it's just a ceremony. I mean, anybody could do it. Why spend $4 million?
There are many things that I'm going to, one after another, highlight what is wrong with the elected president system in Singapore. One aspect that I have not have not brought up before, I like to bring it up now. That you look at the election year 2011 itself, you can already see something that's obviously not right. Presidential and parliamentary elections
so close
in the same year and apart by 2-3 months. That if you are to have a president that have a role to check against the parliament, the succession and interchange, the takeover, the replacement period should not overlap so closely. That's not ideal.
No, I think more absurd is also, I think this the guidelines for this particular campaign period is limited to each candidate one rally. And I think it's very absurd.
Correct.
And then nowhere in the world would then you have nothing to fall back except street stamps, chao bao. You go to mainstream media.
No, you have to play that
then
out.
you're reading the propaganda, how they discriminate. I think this discrimination is still very strong in the way they, although they have not character assassinate anyone yet of the four, but the endorsement,
they are in the position to do that.
The endorsement, it is very telling. Sometimes indirectly they say, okay, I mean, you just can. How can you get even PM to endorse that? Okay, I have not supported anybody, but I think this is a good choice. I mean,
it shows there's desperation. That's all.
Then you got different unions coming to pledge their support. I think this should not be carried out by the mainstream. Wait till let them go among themselves, they rally, let them garner the support from the various unions, and instead openly saying that this one is taking a lead because the union is saying this, that union is supporting that. I think it's very biased, and I think it's unfair to the other candidates who do not have this privilege because they are not sitting in the office. They have perhaps in the past they have been in office, but now that they have left the office, they are no longer having that influence. But for Tony Tan, he only left that just maybe 2 weeks ago, right? So I think to have a fair play, I think the media has to stay its course. Report as it is. Report as it is. So far, okay. I think it's okay. The coverage is okay. But I think why I'm saying I'm impressed by one of them. I think it's also the character, the background. I think Tan Ji Se came across as quite impressive because he said something like, okay, the presidential salary should not even. He didn't say that, oh, I'm willing to take half of it. He said it should be back to the benchmark or even the low income, you know. And then you see, like in Japan, he cited one example where I read all these papers, I don't know any of them, and that it should be maybe 20 times or 40 times, and that's it. Now, because also I think this role is not a very heavy role, that is more like ambassador.
Which is wrong. If you have such a limited role, then might as well you don't need to have a president, you just, you know, let like what they are doing. The Parliament Speaker be the stand-in president, deputy president. You see, we have president, but no vice president. Now, don't. You should have make comparison around the world in many other countries where they have president but no vice president. And then when the president fell sick, passed away, they had the Parliament Speaker stand in to take the role of the president. It's also just a rubber stamp.
Yeah, but in Singapore's context is because the PM, I think some countries, the Prime Minister is the one who calls the shots, and not the President. In some democracies, the President takes control. So now he's saying that he should have some executive powers as a watch person. It's just that you want to get a bodyguard and say, I give you a gun, but no bullets. If you need bullets, you come and ask me. But you are supposed to protect me.
Some check and balance role need to be played by this head of state. Okay, that just having him do charity and inspect guards of honor in the National Day parade is just meaningless.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think
the power that they've given the president,
the vested power is too limited.
Yes, too
be
little.
Effective to bring about better changes for a better Singapore. And I think when you say Singaporeans first, this time when the PM in his National Day rally, it reminds me of something that in 2001, when I was standing as a candidate under the SDP banner, Singapore SDP banner. I think our slogan at that time was Singaporeans first policy. Singaporeans first policy. That been our slogan, catch our tagline. And three elections later, the PAP incumbent government using that as their
main slogan, and they call themselves this elites.
So I am very shocked that why at that time when we stood, we only got 20 point something %. The voters didn't buy what we proposed, what we wanted to effect. The changes, and they will even accept. Now they come to a point that they felt cheated. They felt they were deprived of their rights as citizens, their opportunities as citizens, you know. And now they think they also regretted that this had been the cause for their fall in the votes. So PAP will make remedial actions to address these issues. Which means that the opposition all along, in some instances, have been right in making the right policies in changes, but the citizenry, the voters, the electorate,
the so-called elite in the family regime are very slow learners. They make tremendous, ironical and hopeless mistake. I just pick anyone and show it one to you now. That the railroad that they have removed.
The Tanjong Pagar?
Yes, from Singapore. Today I passed by Tanjong Pagar station. The rail track has been removed. It is a very strategic important to Singapore to have railroad connection with the Asian continent, that we are the southern tip. We were the southern tip of the Asian continent that will link by rail?
No, I think I think more importantly is the location, the strategic location that is, because it is so near the capital, the warehouse, the port.
Now come to it. It was done correctly by the British that the railroad from Tanjong Pagar from Johor Bahru comes into Singapore. It splits somewhere near Bukit Timah. One branch to the Jurong industrial area. One branch go to Tanjong Pagar station, which is directly opposite our Singapore port. That link the two strategic important railroad and port. You should actually try to extend it to the Changi Airport, because you want to be the important transport hub. The shipping and air freight and the railroad must be linked to have any strategic importance and effect. In World War II, the Japanese tried very hard to make the so-called railroad of death to Burma. And the British tried so hard to bomb it, destroy it. This shows the importance. Your MRT linking to Johor Bahru is not going to do the same, because that's just a passenger transport. Railroad is a very cost-effective, time-effective, reliable, heavy transport that cannot be replaced by even land road, because you need only
a lorry bus. It cannot be container.
No, it's very unique. It's fast. It's fuel efficient. It carries very heavy goods, mineral products. Okay, steel, coal, copper mine, ore, sand, rock, granite, timber, rice, paddy, oat, food, sugar, energy like crude oil, gas, cement, all this kind of product. You can carry.
Not dependent on.
A few men can operate a train, then carry 10,000 tons, 20,000 tons of goods effectively and go a very long distance. And from Singapore, the plan was to link Singapore to China, Kunming, by rail. Now this is cut. It only reaches
Nanning. I think there's another one, the later Nanning.
Yes, it's not Nanning. Anyway, it's the southwest of China, through Burma, Thailand, Malaysia. Now it stops at Johor Bahru. The MRT is not going to be able to carry that.
You are out of the game.
Yes, the trucks, the container trucks are not going to be able to do the same, because one driver can drive a 40-feet container only. Compared to train, the scale of economy is very low. To build road, you need 6 carriageway, 4 carriageway, a big width. You cut the land by a lot. One railroad is only about 15 feet. One carriageway of a drive in a lane, one lane width, can carry a very heavy load.
Now, perhaps it could be for military considerations.
It's absolutely strategic, and the idiots who call themselves the elites, the scholars of Singapore, make this thing cut. That now our port and our airport are no longer linked to the Asian continent by railroad. We are just an isolated island, but in terms of that railroad transport.
So we cut ourselves off from
your
the
airport is becoming less important. Your PSA port is becoming less important because of that. And because of that, your competitors Tanjong Palapa and Port Klang and KL Airport are going to be more important than us, because they are linked to the railroad. We are not. So the PAP elite are stupid. Nobody can be so stupid. But they are.
I think Uncle Yap, they could have thought of other avenues like casino, tourism, and therefore not reliant on the.
You lost your value that.
Yeah, but it's also
originally strategic.
I think, because we have always been positioned as one of the busiest ports in the world.
Now you will no longer be.
I think we used to be number 2 busiest port in the world.
At one stage, number one.
So I think we have lost this position, and by virtue of our own actions, we are trying to remove the qualities that we used to have Then slowly we are going to, you bring in so many foreigners, and then even the social fabric of Singapore is lost. Now you have to find a soul. You have lost that soul, you have lost the spirit. You try to make people from different cultures coming in and to integrate, the social integration, which is not possible to be done in a matter of a decade.
Crisis that they cannot handle.
My parents came here for how long? It was a long, brought here. Even then, we also have cultural differences with our different brothers in the different races. So it's not easily blended, The cohesive society is not built over a $10 million fund, and they say, oh, integration, have some Ge Tai, get some mooncake festival, and then you say Chinese people know. I live in China for the last 4 years. It's so difficult to understand in Chinese even. I speak the Mandarin language, the Chinese language, fairly well, and able to write and communicate fluently. But again, the mindset is very different. Even Beijing, people living in Beijing and the Shanghainese are also different. In China, they all think differently. Wenzhou people acted differently, even acting differently. Taiwanese being Chinese also would have different mindset, because also again, unlike the Hong Kong.
In the overall, you just can come to a conclusion that Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew regime undone something that they had done right in the past and converted their own success into a total failure.
Yeah, you have a loss of
tragic failure.
Loss for direction. And now you get people coming, new ministers and all the people coming all too compliant and too comfortable.
You see, in the past, people used to praise Lee Kuan Yew regime for a success, that they blended up the people from different background, culture, immigrant, Chinese, Malay, Indian into an integrated society.
Now it's disintegration.
Now it's totally undone by their recent policy.
And the crimes, I think in the neighborhoods, I think if you go to Bedok, you find it's like a foreign land. One day my friend said, look,
that's where I stay.
It's just all foreigners, Filipinos. True enough, I got into the lift to one of a friend's house, and I realized all the lift, they're all foreigners, foreign faces, Filipino, Indians, Chinese from China. Now the Chinese from China, again, they're very different. It's the first time coming here. To them, it's a land of opportunity. They get a PR, they earn $1, they go back, they say maybe they can convert to 5 this. And I think I heard you saying one case, a special case which shocked me, of somebody who got an employment pass, who's earning a good income of even up to the tune of
very common.
A few $1,000, 5,000 Sing dollars a month.
It's very common.
Fantastic! He's earning a good income of 5,000 Singapore dollars, and he's putting up in a flat, a little corner, not the whole flat. He rents for what? 200? You say?
Something like that.
200-300.
Exact figure.
And he's saving, and which means that if you get people coming here for short term, if it's for long term, he would have applied, he would have settled down, sink the roots here, find a companion, marry, or bring his family here and settle down. But the very fact that he's trying to cut corners, live on the cheap, save every cent, send back, is looking at the short term, the short run. And if you have everybody...
the person that's been PR for 9 years.
PR for 9 years.
He's going to go back.
So in short term, he's looking at 10 years, buy a house in China, and bye-bye. So what integration do you need? He is not interested in the integration. He's not interested in building a cohesive thing. To him, it's a land, a place where he can get a job. It's like going to US. I'm not going to settle in US. So I go there, I make $1 and come back at times.
Short-term maximum exploitation. Take advantage, leave the problem to the rest of the people, and bye-bye.
And the sad part is the Singaporean electorate would stand to suffer, pay for the consequences. When these people withdraw, they make money, they remit, they make money, they remit.